Okay, so we're all pretty familiar with Maslow, right? That whole hierarchy of needs thing. Start with the basics, like gotta eat, gotta have shelter, all that jazz. And then, boom, you work your way up to self-actualization, like you're at the top of the pyramid. But get this, today, we're shaking things up a bit. We're going way back, like ancient India back, with this concept called Pancha Kosha, which basically means five sheaths.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it, right? This idea, the Pancha Kosha, it's straight out to the Taittiriya Upanishad. And get this, it was written centuries before Maslow was even born. They were already exploring this whole idea of like the different layers of what makes us, well, us.
So we're talking like ancient wisdom here, stuff that might actually completely change how we see this whole needs thing, even happiness itself. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's break it down. Five sheets. What are we even talking about here?
Okay, so imagine, right, instead of this pyramid picture, like a bunch of sheaths all nestled inside each other. Each one of these sheaths, it's like a different dimension of being human, right? And we start with the most obvious, the one we can all relate to, the physical.
All right, keeping it real. So we're talking about the Anamaya Kosha here, which is basically like our physical body, right?
Yeah.
The food we eat, the water we drink, all that good stuff.
That's it. It's like the foundation, kind of similar to Maslow's physiological needs, But, and here's where things get interesting with the whole Pancha Kosha model. We don't just like check that box and move on. It's always there, always influencing everything else.
So it's not about climbing a ladder and leaving stuff behind. It's more like these layers, they all kind of work together.
Right.
Which brings us to sheath number two, the Pranamaya Kosha. And this one sounds a little more, how do I say it, energetic.
Exactly. It's all about your life force, that
Right.
energy that keeps you going, your vitality. It's like, yeah, you got to survive, but this is about actually thriving, really living.
Okay, now I'm starting to see how these pieces fit together. The Anamaya Kosha, it's like the building blocks, right? And the Pranamaya Kosha, that's like how we actually use those building blocks to build something awesome, something that's not just existing, but really, truly living. Am I on the right track here?
You got it. You're totally getting it. Each layer, it builds on the one before it, and they
Right.
all kind of play off each other. It's not like a straight line. It's more like dynamic, always moving and changing. And as we go deeper into these sheaths, you'll see how connected it all really is.
Deeper we go. Now, this is where I feel like we're getting into some pretty deep stuff. We're talking about the mind now, right? Like the inner world.
Exactly. The Manomaya Kosha, which is basically the mental sheath. This is where we get into thoughts, emotions, our senses. It's the world as we experience it, shaped by, well, everything we've been through and how we see things.
All right, so we've gone from the physical stuff to this, like inner world of thoughts and feelings. And if I'm putting two and two together here, this seems like where we start to see some overlap with what Maslow was talking about with things like belonging, connection, maybe even self-esteem.
It's amazing how these ideas from totally different cultures and time periods, they kind of like come together. But here's where the Panchakosha model takes a different path. It's not about like fulfilling one need so you can move on to the next one. It's about how all these layers are always interacting. They all matter.
So even when we're talking about this deep internal stuff,
Yeah.
we're still connected to the physical and energetic parts of ourselves. It's all part of the same system. We're not just checking boxes and moving on. This is already blowing my mind. And we're not even done yet, are we? We've got two more sheaths to uncover. Where do we go from this world of thoughts and emotions?
Yeah, two more to go. And this is where I think it gets even more interesting. We're moving beyond like the everyday stuff of our minds, and into this other realm, the Vijnana Maya Kosha. You can think of it kind of like the wisdom sheath or the intellect sheath.
Okay, wisdom sheath. I like the sound of that. So is this like beyond just thinking about what's for dinner tonight, more than just our usual thoughts and feelings?
Yeah, exactly. This is about tapping into something deeper, our intelligence, our intuition, even our conscience. It's that voice inside, the one that helps you figure out right from wrong. It's like a compass guiding you towards, a life that has meaning. And actually, there's research on this. It connects this whole Vijnana Kosha thing with like self-discipline and focus, stuff Maslow talked about too. And those things usually lead to better self-esteem, really accomplishing things.
It's true when you think about it. It's more than just like feeling good about yourself, right? It's more like understanding who you are deep down, what you're meant to do. It's walking the walk, not just talking the talk, aligning your actions with, your values.
Yeah.
That's got to be good for self-esteem, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're making the connections. But remember, with the Panchakosha, it's not about getting to one level and being done. It's all these layers always working together, always.
Right. the interplay thing. So even when we're working on wisdom and intellect and all that, we're not just forgetting about our bodies, our energy, the emotional side. They're all still there, all part of it. It makes you think. In our world today, we're all so busy, 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 right?
Yeah.
Trying to make ends meet, get ahead, all that. It's easy to forget about this wisdom, this purpose.
Yeah. And that brings us to the last sheath, maybe the most profound one, the Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss sheath.
Okay, bliss sheath. Now we're talking. I think we're officially out of textbook territory here. I mean, this is more than just like being happy, right?
Oh, yeah. Way more. It's not about like winning the lottery or anything like that. Fleeting stuff. Anandamaya Kosha. It's about this deep sense of peace,
Yeah.
joy, being connected to everything. It goes beyond you, beyond your ego. It's about recognizing like we are all connected, all part of something bigger.
Like we're always looking for happiness and stuff, right? Achievements, things we buy. What if it's really about finding that ananda inside, this connection to ourselves, to the world?
You got it. That's what's so cool about this. It connects to some of Maslow's later ideas, like self-transcendence. He realized after you achieve self-actualization, some people, they go even further, beyond their own needs, their own ego. It's about connecting with something bigger than themselves.
Okay, now it's clicking. Maslow called it self-transcendence. This ancient text is talking about Anandamaya Kosha. But it's like the same idea, right? We are all connected. True fulfillment. It's not just about me, me, me. This is where it gets really interesting.
I know, right? It's amazing how, like, wisdom from different times, different cultures, it all kind of leads to the same truth. But the Pancha Kosha, it's not just some abstract concept. It actually gives you a framework, a way to understand how these parts of you work together, how they lead to this ultimate state of fulfillment.
So it's one thing to like understand this stuff in your head, but how do we live it?
Exactly. It's about being aware of all these different layers, seeing how they affect each other, making choices that are good for your body, your mind, and, your spirit, your whole self.
Oh, okay, I'm getting chills.
Yeah.
But let's be real for a sec. What's it actually look like to reach this Anandamaya Kosha? Am I going to have to like go live on a mountaintop? Can regular people actually experience this bliss thing?
That's the cool thing. It's not just for like monks or whatever. The texts actually talk about people who reached this Ananda state and they were like living normal lives and engaged with the world and everything.
Okay, so you're saying you can be like a regular person with a job and stuff and still experience this.
That's the idea. They were living life to the fullest, appreciating everything, the simple things, the big things, but they weren't like attached to the outcome. You know what I mean? Not driven by ego.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Being present, engaged, finding joy in every day.
Yeah.
But not being ruled by like, wanting more and more and more all the time. How do we get there? It still feels kind of, I don't know, mystical.
Yeah, I get it. But remember, we've been talking about all these layers working together, right? So cultivating Ananda, it's not just about meditating or, like spiritual stuff, though that can definitely help. It's about how you take care of yourself physically, your energy, how you think, connecting with your own wisdom.
So all these layers, it's like they're all pointing towards this possibility of like true bliss. And maybe, just maybe, if we understand these concepts, we can make choices that, naturally take us there.
Exactly. The Taittiriya Upanishad, it actually describes these people, the ones who have reached Anandamaya Kosha. They realize simultaneously the empirical and the spiritual, the conscious and unconscious, the changing and the eternal, the time and the timeless. Whoa, right. It's like this sense of wholeness, of being connected to everything beyond how we usually think about reality.
Oh, hold on. We're getting deep here. Empirical and spiritual, time and the timeless. It's like they're saying you experience like every aspect of existence all at once.
Right. And it gets even better. The text says he exists in peace both within and without and is in a state of calm and joy. He is free from pride, guilt, and craving desire. So they embody this way of being that's like deeply fulfilling, but also good, for them and for the world around them.
Free from pride, guilt, and craving desires. Okay,
Yeah.
in a world that's constantly telling us we need more, be more, do more, that sounds like, I don't know, freedom, real freedom. So we've gone from Maslow's pyramid, which sometimes feels like, got to achieve, 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 to this Pancha Kosha thing, which is like, whoa, a much bigger, more complete, more inspiring way to look at what it means to live a good life. a really fulfilling life.
It's been a journey, right? And that's what's so cool about like looking at things from different angles. It makes you think about your own assumptions, opens you up to new possibilities. Maslow's work is important, no doubt, but maybe by taking this ancient wisdom, this Pancha Kosha, we can understand human potential, even happiness, in a much deeper way.
Totally. This deep dive has been incredible. From like Psychology 101 to ancient India, all connected. And the best part is, this is just the beginning, right? It's a conversation that keeps going. So for everyone listening, here's something to think about. What if you took some of these Pancha Kosha ideas, things like mindfulness, meditation, and actually tried them out? Could it help you on your own journey? Maybe even help you tap into a little more of that Ananda along the way. Just something to think about as you're, navigating life and trying to find that deeper sense of fulfillment. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep diving deep.